remember you
I had to
guys
do what I had to
almost
do for
hurt
years.
yourselves, yeah.
Well, my kid,
Good.
Yeah,
Oregon,
so we need to,
Alaska.
we have
They
so
get-
much money in the budget, we could just buy
They
some
get something
tickets.
straightened out on the computer.
That's good to have options.
Put one
Please
in
stand
front.
to pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence for our country and for those who protect it. Thank you. Any adjustments to the agenda?
Yes, I do. I have, one adjustment, I believe. I think Jamie'd like to make a report tonight, too.
On what? Oh, my meeting last
On
weekend?
your meeting last week.
I can. We can do that at the end if you want to.
Okay.
That's up to you. Whenever you want to do it. We can do that. I can give you some information, after the superintendent's report. That's fine. And what did you say? Did you have a?
That's it.
That was it? All right, very good.
Just trying to keep track of everything that's happening.
Approval of, previous minutes, which was December 17th.
Make a motion to accept minutes as presented to us.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Thank you. At this time, do we have any public comment?
Just when Bill makes his report, it's just about the new cafeteria, he's got some things.
Yeah,
We can wait
we
till,
can discuss.
wait till Bill.
Yep, well, it's hot, it's a hot topic, it's good. Okay, thank you. Principal's report, I guess that would be singular,
We
principal.
don't have to fight over going
I
first.
know, you're definitely going first.
I was under the understanding that the school board was gonna be contacted about the Strive for Five that we had. I had talked about it multiple times with you guys. I did when we first started it. If you go to the second packet, well, it's the first packet behind the first page. I did a little write-up about how our Strive for Five program went this first half of the school year. It went amazing. It worked way better than we had anticipated. And I had told you this before at our last meeting. What I didn't realize was how well it worked. We only had 9 students that missed more than 5 days of school.
Wow.
Last year at this time, we were at 52% students had missed more than 5 days, and this is 15%. Okay, so it really did work. We heard positive feedback from the parents throughout the school year that their kids were saying, I have to go to school today because I want to decorate that cupcake, which it's a really small incentive for these students. The problem that came out of this is that we had only 19 students that were not allowed to decorate a cupcake. I will say, so I didn't know this until Thursday, and we were decorating cupcakes on Friday because we gave them until Thursday for attendance count. So it was really hard in my head to go tell these 19 students you can't decorate a cupcake.
Because they
right?
missed more than 5 days?
Yeah, and it didn't matter what they missed for. It could have been for being out on a family trip, which is an excused absence. It could have been for being sick, which is an excused absence. We don't want the kids there if they're sick. I understand that. But we also get a lot of students who are out sick and they're really not sick, right? And so this motivated them to come to school. So on Friday morning, I met with the leadership team because this was something that we decided as a leadership team to do. And I said, how are we going to handle this? I had some ideas, but I wanted to hear from multiple people. So we did not tell those 19 students that we were going to decorate cupcakes. We pulled them out of the classroom before, gave them a job. Darlene was retiring. They made retirement cards for her and then brought them back to their class. So they really didn't know that the other kids were going to decorate cupcakes, okay? Like, we didn't sit them in a room as a punishment. This was not a punishment.
And the other
This was
kids
an
didn't
incentive.
know until right when you did it that they were going to decorate? Because they, obviously, that would have been.
No, they knew. They knew, right? But we tried to make it so that the kids who didn't get it didn't know that we were going to decorate cupcakes. I didn't allow the kids to bring the cupcakes back to the classroom. You know, I tried to do my best.
That's kudos to you, because I don't know how you'd ever have kids not tell other kids
kids that they were
Well,
really
and there was
quick.
so many things going on that day, cause we went and watched a movie and stuff, that they were just,
It was a busy day,
was a busy
so there
day.
was,
Mm.
yeah.
right, we tried our best, I'm not saying that the other kids
Sure.
probably didn't go back and say that this was fun, whatever.
Right.
We didn't have any students upset at school, like none of those 19 students showed that they were upset at school. Were there parents that were upset that some of these kids couldn't go? There was.
Mhm.
And I tried to address it as best as I could. Right now, we don't know how to move forward for this next half of the school year. Do we do this again? Because it worked really well. But it's kind of going along those lines that not everybody can get a trophy, I guess, is how I'm looking at it. But I just want to have a discussion about how you want us to move forward on this. I have a couple suggestions that maybe we don't include pre-K, K1, 2, and we only do it grades 3 through 6. That's an option. I don't know. I don't know how you want to
From previous
see it.
years, where do most of the, where percentage-wise, where do most of the kids that miss more than 5 days of school during the semester? Is it 3, 4, 5, and 6 more than it is the younger ones?
No,
Pre-K
not.
is big.
Yeah, pre-K is the largest.
Can I just say something? And I don't know if this is true, so I'm actually asking a question to talk about the pre-K. When the kids first start school, I don't know, is there anything to the fact that they might have more sick days due to building immunities, or is that a thing? No?
And honestly,
I didn't know.
So many of the kids now go to daycare,
Yeah.
that they've already built those within their,
I just didn't
I
know
would
if that
guess,
would be a
I mean, there's not,
factoring
there'd probably
figure.
be very few kids now that don't go to some sort of a daycare, small percentage.
and we have students who didn't make it this last half of the year, and they're like, I can do it for next year. I will make sure that I'm, don't miss. So they're looking forward to it, to earning it again, and we're probably gonna stick with the same thing, decorating a cupcake, because I absolutely love that. And it was really small, and it was just 10 minutes of class. We had the 6th graders working with the pre-K. They helped them decorate, eat it, get out, move the next class in, because we were watching a movie. It was a half day that day.
I mean, it worked,
It did.
and I know, I mean, if they're little ones and if other kids can go, but it's also a natural consequence. And I think sometimes we don't always let natural consequences happen. And I hate to change something that's worked.
Seemed very successful.
Right, and I hate to change it, I mean,
And it's something that we can think about.
I mean, we may be able to tweak ways to,
How do you pick up consensus among the children?
What do you mean?
Well, you're worried about the negative aspect. You're also saying the kids are looking forward to doing it again.
Yep.
So, are you getting a lot of negative from the children?
Parents.
I didn't get any negative from the
Parents.
children.
But the parents?
Right.
Well, let the kids educate the parents.
Personally, I don't, nothing's gonna be perfect.
Right. Okay, I just wanted to get your feel on it, because I was told that you guys were gonna be contacted about it, so I wanted to make sure that I communicated to you that
No,
this was something that did bother us, like, we,
I mean,
like,
we
well, I
had
mean,
to
who
start-
who
Sounds
would've
like
thought
you-
there were only 19, I mean, when you see
you,
that,
you
no
did the best to
idea.
accommodate it, and you do,
Okay.
maybe you can come up with a different accommodation next year. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
and I did write in here, just like it's a natural consequence. If you miss a day, being sick, you lose a sick day. There's always that type of, it's not a punishment, and we didn't punish these kids. They weren't sitting in a room with nothing to do. Like, we gave them a job.
The
and they were really
benefits
excited.
far outweigh the consequences.
Okay.
And I'd say, as a parent, I thought it was great. Michelle loved decorating the cupcake. She thought it was fantastic. And she worked really hard because she did not want to miss more
Right.
than 5 days
Yeah.
of school.
Yeah.
On the flip side, this is coming up to being flu season. And if she gets the flu and she's out for 4 or 5 days, she's going to be really upset come June that she strives to be there. But I'm not going to send her
Yep.
with a
And we don't
fever
want her
and
there either.
all of that. So
Right.
this sickness thing, like, I do get it. yes, if you're at a job, right, sometimes you lose money, or a lot of companies pay you sick days. I think as a parent, on that side of it, I think that would be the only part that bothered me. If they're just keeping them home, that's one thing.
Well, that's, how do you prove?
Yeah.
How do you differentiate?
Well, we
You
used to
don't-
have to
you
have
don't know.
doctor's notes.
I
I mean,
And the
if you.
policy now, it's not the policy, but in our handbook, I do say that up to 5 days for illness will be excused without a doctor's note. But after 5 days, you need to bring a doctor's note, or they will be considered unexcused. So that's another thing that was brought up, that but this was halfway through the year, 5 days at halfway through the year. It wasn't the full year, so.
I think you've created positive peer
Yeah,
pressure.
absolutely, perfect.
And at 10 days, they're truant.
And I will also tell you that the doctor's note isn't worth a damn.
Right. I know.
The pressure I experienced to write a note because you know he was sick, because he was sick,
Yeah, after the fact.
Even though you didn't see him.
Right.
and there's no evidence.
Right.
It was a constant bother.
And I do wanna say that this was an initiative that was suggested by the Maine Department of Education for us to try to see if it would improve our attendance, because this is the reason that we are a tier 3 school. So I'm hoping that, this is gonna work. It's motivating students to come to school, it really is. So,
What the numbers are, 52% to 15.
Yeah.
There's
I mean,
proof.
that speaks for
That's
you.
tremendous.
Here's your proof.
That is tremendous.
okay.
That's what it is.
And I guess
Let's
okay.
move on.
Thank you. I'm not gonna read this to you. This is our new, and I keep talking about this too because I wanna make sure that I get the word out that we have switched to a school-wide Title I program. This means every teacher in our building is considered a Title I teacher. Before we had only one Title I teacher, like we had Marsha Westrack, we had Morrison?
Bernadette.
Bernadette
Yeah.
Morrison, yep.
So there's always been previously one Title I teacher. We are moving, and schools across the state are doing this, and because we became a Title-wide school, they're asking us to do this, where the teacher that is in the Title I position is a mentor to other teachers, is a coach. So their job is to coach the teachers so that in the classroom, the students are getting better instruction at their level, which is why we've done the guided one training, which is why we're not seeing as many students pulled out of the classroom. And this has changed, and this has been hard for teachers. We worked this whole half of the school year trying to get this figured out. I feel like we have it up and running now, but it's very different, and it's a change.
The other major plus is that there's more flexibility in the expenditure side as a whole school. Doesn't really increase the funding, but it does give us more flexibility of what we can do and what we can transfer there.
Right. And it's allowing us to improve our teachers' instruction across the board instead of just the Title I teacher who can't do it all, and who was pulling students out of reading time in the classroom. Well, that student's never gonna get up to grade level if they're going to the Title I classroom to work at their level and missing the class time, that doesn't work. So we're trying to balance it out so that they can have the in-class instruction at their grade level and then pulled out with the 6 to 8 weeks. And if that 6 to 8 weeks, they're proving that they're not making gains, then we need to reassess. So you need to either refer to special ed or change our intervention. And at this time, we don't have enough material to provide interventions. We've never had that. Like, we had worked on getting a reading program, and a phonics program, which we have now, but now we need to move on to get more intervention programs that we can follow. So that's where we're headed.
So students still do get, small group if they're, because
They're
my,
just starting.
okay, because
Yep.
my question is, if they don't, I mean, I know your teacher is all teachers are Title I teachers. But if you have a student who is missing a specific skill or a couple of skills, and teacher is responsible for, how many kids did you say in 28, 20,
27.
27, then if this student or this student is missing skills, it's gonna be difficult for the classroom teacher to get that skill to that student.
Yep.
So,
As a
And-
group.
right, cause that student is gonna be missing, and those skills sometimes in the Title I students often are your kids that are right on your bubble,
Mhm.
and they're gonna be the ones, if you can get that skills and if you can get them some intense intervention, you know, that they're gonna be the ones that are gonna bring your,
Your test
I'm not
score
into
up,
school, but they're gonna be the ones that are gonna bring your test scores up,
Cause they're on the edge.
because they're on the edge.
Yes, and so what we're doing differently now is that we have more assessments to give to the students so that we're not just taking them out of the classroom to work on work that they're doing in the classroom. We're taking them out of the classroom after the classroom teacher has given them an assessment, and we know very specifically what that child needs. For example, in first grade right now, they are working on rhyming. If they cannot get rhyming, they can't move on to a different skill. So this group of students coming out is specifically working on rhyming. Does that make sense? So that before we would just take them out and work on what they were doing in the classroom, or give reading recovery across the board, and our scores were not moving ahead. So we need to really pinpoint what the
More
students
specialized.
need. Absolutely. Really pinpoint what they need. And that guided reading instruction can be done in the classroom at their level. I would say most classrooms right now have between 3 and 4 groups going for the guided reading, which was not happening before. It was like just one whole class lesson, which we still do the whole class lesson, but they also get that guided reading in the classroom instead of being pulled out.
But they are getting specific skills, they're working on specific skills that are
According-
needed.
Yep, according to the assessments, and we actually have bought 2 new assessments this year. So it's really, in my opinion, we've done about 5 years of work in a half a year. It's been a lot of work, and I'll tell you that Dale Bailey, our speech pathologist, has been, cause he knows all the assessments, cause that's what he uses, so he's been helping us do this, and Krista as well, getting everything together, organizing all the data so that teachers can look at it. And so it's taken time, it's taken this whole half of the school year to get it up and running. But I feel like we're making gains. We have to make changes. If you look at our scores are not, they're low. 37% of students are making it in reading. That's not okay. We need to fix this and try something different. So, we are gonna be, at the bottom part, I wrote about math. My goal is to get a math coach for next year, like what Chris is doing right now as a literacy coach. I would like somebody doing this in math as well. We are not going to be subscribing to Envisions next year. We're gonna be using it, but we're gonna be piloting 3 different other programs. So it's gonna give us a year to make a decision on which program we wanna buy in 21-22. Any questions? It's a lot. It's taken me half a year to figure out how this is all gonna work. Alright. I saved the best thing for last. So I chose Billy Romanelli as the staff member that I wanted to introduce. He grew up in Princeton. His family owned the Downriver camps. He went to school in Farmington, stayed there for 15 years, I believe is what he wrote, and he taught at Mount Blue, then came back to run his the camps. And he's just been, it's been great to have him at our school. He's the only male in our school, and it's pretty easy going with that, luckily. So he's taken it upon himself to, and he wrote a letter to you guys, so I just put it in there. And he's taken it upon himself to become the literacy group expert, and he's working with Darlene Bassett, our ELA coach, to bring this into his classroom and to teach other teachers about it. He's presented to staff on math strategies and proficiency-based education. After he went to some conferences, he came back and presented during our staff meetings, which was great. He has an excellent rapport with staff, students, and families. And he has a therapy dog. And we have talked about this multiple times. I don't know if you would remember Paula McShane, our guidance counselor, used to bring a therapy dog to school, and it used to be a day a week. And that was really great for the students and the staff. We'd like to start this again at some point. I don't know if it would happen this year or next year. He has the paperwork on his dog Lucy, and he is willing to share that, but he's actually really sick right now. So he was gonna come to school board meeting, but
Billy or Lucy?
both. I can bring both if you want me to.
Uh,
And I just included an article from the ASCB magazine about why bring therapy dogs to school, and it talks about students and how they help staff as well.
I have a medical question though, around with students with allergies.
Yeah, and
What do they do, I mean, how does that?
so if there's a student in the class, because, and this is different, and he and I are both researching it, because when Paula would bring her dog to school, it would stay in the guidance office,
Mhm.
and so that's an option, it could stay in my office.
I mean, I think the idea, I like the idea, but
Right.
Parker's extremely ill, so I'm just wondering what that does to.
Yep, and
Yeah.
so if he would be in the classroom, then we wouldn't take the dog to that
Right.
classroom, and if he was in fifth grade, then Billy wouldn't be able to have the dog in
Yeah.
the classroom at that time. So we'd have to find a different, and it would be just a day a week, so we'd make sure it wasn't
Right.
around students that had allergies.
It's just a,
But he and I talked, and a fear of dogs.
although he's around a lot, I mean, they give him allergies, I
therapy
mean, he
dog.
loves dogs, so.
Yeah.
This therapy dog could get them, some of these kids' fears out of them.
Yeah, it
Also.
could work with,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, that's all that I have.
Thank you.
Should you take this to give it to Jimmy?
Just write Johnny's name on it.
Do you have any extra copies of your report?
You can have mine, I don't need it.
There's an extra one over here,
Oh, so Johnny has one there? Okay.
yeah.
Does anybody else want this? It's pretty thick this week. I had all
Lots of
Christmas
info.
vacation to work on that, so it's pretty thick this
You're
week.
supposed to take some time off, just for yourself.
Yeah.
Go up north, right?
I did.
Did you?
I have
There was not a
internet
lot
up
of
there
sledding
Alright.
though, it's not even good up there.
No, it's bad.
You got internet where you're at? You got-
Yeah, I got internet.
So you could,
So I can work.
Just send it to him. Okay, the expenditure report for December 31st, last one of 2019, marks the close of the 6th month. The 6th month is, we start July, so it is 50% through the fiscal year, with 50% remaining. Again, transportation needs of students, we've got one account that is taking a hit. We had some discussions about that today for about 2.5 hours, I think,
Way too long.
way too long. And we're working on some alternatives that may be able to reduce the continued expense in that particular account line, along with some other issues that we're also trying to fix as
Like
costs
Alice?
go up. Yes. Right now, we have 8 students in day treatment, 6, I think, with 2 in the queue, so to speak. And at somewhere near $35,000 a student, consider that my budget line was 120. We're working very diligently to make sure that every account is reviewed and that we end the year without going in the hole, so as to speak. And we will. I'm pretty much assured at this point that that's not a major issue, but it's an issue that we are cautiously watching. I had an administrator come to me with a purchase, and I denied it. And they found an alternate way to do it at a much less lower cost. And I won't say who, what, where, or how, but we will work through those things, and it'll work. So, total budget was $5,357,459. Expenditure to date is $2,359,075,06, or 44%. So, basically, we're running about 5.8% to the good at this point in time. In order to make sure that I can cover those additional expenses, I'm going to have to continue to run to the good. Bottom line, 5% of $5 million is $250,000 more than will cover that overage, but I've got to still keep that in front of me in order to make sure that we don't, and I come out with a balanced plus side account, because that's part of the requirements of my job. At the same time, obviously I've been sending you updates, pictures, and reports of the construction as it's going. It seems slow. I had a state meeting. I'm on the construction committee for Maine Superintendents Association. And interestingly enough, in the last 18 months, the cost of construction across the state of Maine for schools and other things has doubled. It's gone up significantly in materials and contractors' costs. We're experiencing some of the same issues. To date, we have in the bond of the $5.164 million, we have expended $1.67,889.99. We have a remaining balance to date of $3,493,962.01. We have enough, obviously, to do the cafeteria. That was the next job that was primary and was most important. We had hoped it would be in the 1.6 to 1.8. It looks like it's going to be closer to 2.8 before we're all done, and I'm holding Nickerson a day to that figure. He's already, as some people know, have sent things out to try to rebid some processes, and we've saved about $230,000 in the last week on our costs. And he's still working on some of that with some of the contractors and trying to get some joint ventures going that'll hopefully lower the end, give us the same end result, but lower our cost in the end, bringing it within line of where we are with budget. We have taken care of phase 1 and made those payments for phase 1. And that includes the structure, the roof, the walls, closing it in, and we've already prepaid for the kitchen equipment simply because the price was going to go up 10% on January 1st, because the price of steel is going up, and as is everything else in the world, I guess. So to save 10% on a $250,000 investment seemed appropriate. $25,000 is still $25,000. So basically, that's been taken care of. It's been ordered and will be stored and taken care of. So at this point, we have $3,400,000, just short of $3,500,000 left to complete projects. And we have, as a part of the budget committee, back 6 months ago or so, maybe even a little longer, I applied for some state projects under the revolving loan fund. There were 6 of them. The state received 140 applications. They will be approving $20 million worth of those applications, which will be about 100 of the 140 will be approved. If I do it on a percentage basis, that should tell me that I should get at least 2 approved. So, at least 2 of those projects meet the high needs level, so I'm guessing that those may well, one had to do with the, what we call the worm room downstairs, and it was also hopefully going to be covered as an extension on the bond, but we may use alternate funding to do that portion of the job, so we'll still be able to get that done. And some of it was for part of the boiler and heating system as well. And if that comes through, then everything that we've landed. That's the one that seemed to have grown in size probably the most as we've gone through this process. That's where we're at. If we look back, I remember the high school roof came in under bid, the elementary roof came in significantly over bid. We did additional heating at the elementary school. It was not really part of the original application process, but we cleaned up all of the heating over there, including controls. And so there was some additional costs there. Our windows and doors came in slightly over what we had budgeted for the elementary. All of the front section do. And that's where we sit. Questions?
Have we seen the savings yet, a drastic savings in the heat, elementary school so far?
Last year, we saved, just with the change in the boilers, 1,700 gallons. My guess is
1,700 gallons?
last year, before we did
Yeah.
the windows, and so I haven't checked it to date. It's difficult to compare degree days from one year to the next without those calculations. But according to someone who's related to someone in my office, yes, we're continuing to save, and he oversees that. I'm gonna guess it will be down another 1,700 or so gallons, and we're talking 260 a gallon, 2,000 gallons. Last year, 2,000 more. This year, 4,000. That's $8 grand, basically, a little more. 8 to 10 grand savings. So yes, it's gonna come back. Lighting, we're seeing, I haven't run the electrical, but we've done parts of the buildings with LEDs, especially the elementary. I haven't run those as a comparison month to month, but I can do that so that I can compare a November where it's relatively dark and we're operating most of the month to last year's November to give you a calculation of not so much cost, but kilowatts.
Yeah, no, I know it's not the cost, because I know that fluctuates a little bit with Eastman Electric, but
Yeah.
kilowatt per hour is use.
Yeah. I can do that for you. I can run a report. That's not a problem. And that'll give you kind of an indication of at least where we're going. And we continue to work with Nickerson and Day and the other contractors to get a good project and keep the costs reasonable and the end result positive. Not part of this discussion, but just to make you feel good. I lost a gym floor in East Range over vacation, and that's $100,000 replacement.
The little gym.
That little gym, and 89,000 and change.
Princeton had that 2 years ago, last year.
Last year, I did that one last summer.
What happened at East Range?
Oh, I know about that one.
East Range, we had a individual, believe unnamed, who went we had to do lead testing on the water, and it has to be done at the drinking fountains, so they require that you run those fountains before you take the samples.
Mhm.
And so they turned the fountains on
And left.
and left for a short period of time, not knowing that the drain in the fountain was plugged. And the water overflowed the fountain, ran under the gym floor, and warped it. And when we put the hydrometers to it, the floor right now is holding 60% moisture and should be at 4% this time of year. The issue is it's going to grow mold. So it
Rubber
needs
floors
to
don't
be-
have that problem.
Needs
Huh?
to be
Rubber floors don't have that problem.
needs to be taken up and
Somebody
replaced.
said.
The same issue with that floor as I had at Princeton. It's on a rail system. It's tied with no flexibility right to the concrete floor. It's not a free floating floor.
So you can't replace just pieces of it.
No, I have to do the whole floor.
Is there any kind of insurance, like we have homeowners that will,
We have insurance, and our insurance, if the adjuster approves it, will be $1,000 deduct, so the cost of East Range for the floor, just like Princeton, will be $1,000.
okay.
But it
It's a
doesn't
little
help my
bit.
insurance rates over
Yeah,
the long term.
you'll
They
you'll
will
pay,
come
you'll
back.
pay in the long run.
So,
They'll
yeah.
just triple the.
The,
So that's, all of the good and bad news. Any questions? I
Are you
try-
still, are
I
you
try
still
stay
trying
busy.
to stay on schedule as far as completion date?
Yes, we're looking still, if you ask Nixon today, they're still looking at a late September, early October. I still think we'll have Thanksgiving dinner.
So when will he be coming in to start filling us in on updates?
I can have him come anytime.
Yeah. I've asked that several times, and
I can have either.
even if it's just once a month to give it, I know we're seeing the updates on our emails and stuff, but I'd like to formally,
Nice.
cause we
nice.
don't have, cause we can sit there and ask you all the questions, go back to him, come back 2 weeks later with an answer, rather than if he's here that particular night, we know he's gonna be here tonight, if we have any questions then, we can get them answered then.
I can establish that so that
Yep.
we have a meeting. We've got a meeting coming up, mid-month, so I can bring that up.
One
at that
meeting.
Well, it's just
Another
one meeting in the month, I
Yeah.
mean, if he can come in for 20
During the
minutes and give us,
construction.
you know, I know we're getting the updates, I just feel comfortable that if I have any questions, he's the one to answer.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I don't wanna have to come in here.
Do you have a construction schedule?
I do.
Something like that would be helpful. too,
Okay,
just to
yeah, I
kinda,
can bring that
you know,
in.
to
It's in
see
my notebook.
actually how,
How it's
compared to
laid
the
out.
schedule, how things are going.
It's pretty basic,
Yeah,
very, very basic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's lined out.
Yeah.
footings, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
We're
stuff
gonna
like
hopefully
steel,
pour cement tomorrow.
you know, stuff
Tomorrow?
like
We
that.
start
I
for
have to
cement?
admit, I
Yeah.
enjoy getting
Footings
those, but I
for
have no
cement
idea what.
should be
Well,
poured
right.
tomorrow.
No,
They
I mean,
did
but it's-
forms the last couple of weeks, and they were tying steel
Well, that's why
today
we're all
out
in
there.
different-
They're keeping it covered,
Different specialties.
obviously every
Exactly,
night, keep the
yes,
frost
yeah.
out of it. Significant issue they ran into with the digging was we had lots of water. And they ran a pump most of the day in order to clean out those trenches.
It's coming right off Summer Street, right off that ridge and coming down.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of ledge there, and as soon as they hit it, you could see the water runs.
And we had a little bit of a delay as we were looking for a place to put $1,000 grease
Trap.
trap in, and wanted to make sure that the plumbing would fit without having to put in additional pumps. And we have it, so it's gonna go back to the original place, and we have a way to get to it and to have it pumped
It's all
out.
gravity.
Yeah. So it'll be gravity, and we won't have to do additional pumps, which is just an additional expense and an additional maintenance problem. So, good
So-
news, bad news, and we keep moving forward, like I said.
I just wanna,
I put a lot more time into it, and so has Craig, and we really want to, but
Bill's already gone over all this, I just wanna make sure you guys are aware of what he just said. So, Stephen Blatt told us we was gonna get a cafetorium for $1.6 million. And that's what the town agreed on, right? We all aware of this. That price was, as of 3 weeks ago, was over $3 million for the same building, so. I wanna make sure we're all on the same page with that. And so, we've got it down to 2.8 or 9, I hope. But that still leaves us $1.3 million more than what we planned on building that building.
And that's why 6 months ago, I asked that question, are we gonna be over budget? Well, I did, I
And we're-
asked that in a meeting, if that's the route we're gonna take, and that's the limit,
Well-
we gotta make sure what we spend, and we gotta watch real close.
And Bill has been watching. The first numbers, true numbers I got was, the December 17th.
Yeah.
When it came in at $3 million, and it's, so anyway. This is where we're at. I've run all my numbers too. The things we got left on our list, we've done both the roofs, we've done the elementary school heating, the elementary school exterior, and some of the lighting over there. We still have to do the heating here, big price.
Yeah.
Somewhere between $700,000 and 1.2 million.
Yeah.
We're hoping more to 700,000. The exterior, we had a lot of money set aside for that, 400,000. There's where we can save some money. I say we don't have anybody outside of Washington County work on the outside of this building, because it's gonna cost too much. The lighting, we've gotten a good deal on lighting at the elementary school. That's something that we can afford to do over here. But I think, even with my numbers, it's gonna be, to me, it's gonna be really tight. But my suggestion, and I've mentioned it today, is don't do anything else until we get the cafeteria
That's
out
right.
there built, and we get a heating system in this school here, and then let's look where we are with the bond. That's where I say we go, just so, I wanna make sure you guys aware. That's my little view from Main Street, so.
And that's
I
been
have been
the-
right from the beginning, said, I do not wanna spend more money than what we've allotted already.
And
That's
Bill,
what
you
that
are, he
bond
is keeping a
was.
close eye on it, and we're trying to juggle things around a little bit. The elementary school is, we've got a lot of projects left to do, but that's in pretty good shape over there overall.
Overall.
But the heating system here at that cafeteria has got to be
Oh,
done.
yeah.
We're running on a Band-Aid over here, so I don't wanna take up too much time, but
Oh, you're fine.
anyway.
You're not taking up much of my time.
And
I'd
the
rather
other
know
thing you
this
guys
stuff.
need to know is, I'm sure you probably got this in an email. Never heard of VE, Valued Engineering.
Value engineering.
You know what it is. They are going to, which I'm glad, they're going to try to save money, and they're looking at everything they do at that cafeteria, which is what we wanted from the get-go.
Yep.
Trust me, they built this thing, they designed this thing very, very strong, so I think it was a little overkill, but
Yep.
maybe we'll be able to save some money on this project over the next 3 months. So
I think,
it's all
when we
right.
look at some specific areas, we're still, like I said, we took off about 250,000 last week, just with some minor changes, and making that tank go where it was originally planned to go, saved some
Yeah.
$40,000. Not having to put it in the ground as they had originally planned was 25,000 for the hole and cover. So, you know, it's coming down, but it's not easy, and I spend about 2.5 hours on the phone and a call on a regular basis with Carl, who's the president of the company.
And I specifically talked to Lee, who's the project guy out here. He's here every day. Anybody wants to meet him, come over. I talk to him every day.
That's
And I've told him repeatedly, if you see a cost savings somewhere, don't wait till last minute. Let us know and give us an option. Give us an option if there's something that costs less money that will still function. Give us the option ahead of time so we can look at it, and make a decision.
Yep.
So, anyway.
And Carl's gotten the same message multiple times, including in meetings, as I've said no.
But they are trying to, the plan is to pour cement tomorrow, so things are happening.
We're moving forward,
We're moving forward.
and it's a good structure, believe me. We've gotten that from multiple people as far as the design and everything in the building. Couldn't be any better, so. That's
Okay.
the upside.
Thank you very much. Jamie,
Okay, so, I attended my first Maine School Board Association meeting last, Saturday, and, upon my orientation, they said they last 2.5, 3 hours. 6 hours later, we finally finished up our meeting. A very long day to say the least, but, I got a lot of information. My feet are still a little wet, so I wanna take things slow. I did get a little bit of information that they gave to us. First of all, we met with, Pender Macon, who's the commissioner for the Department of Education. She came in for about 45 minutes and spoke to us about a lot of the stuff that they're looking at this year. I didn't get that list down. I believe they're gonna try to get what they talked about in the meeting, and I'll get a list of those minutes so I can give you an update of some of the stuff they're looking at for this year. Bill might even be able to fill you in on some of that information, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That was a very good meeting. It was a question and answer session after that. I had no questions because, like I said, all new to me, and I'm trying to understand some of the stuff that they were talking about. I will get it in time. The other thing that they talked about was some of the meetings, some of the stuff we're looking at for this year, some of the goals. One of the big ones that they were specifically looking at is regional collaboration. And what that is trying to get, I know once a year they try to get a regional meeting up, one meeting for all the school board members throughout the county. This year here, we're gonna try to push for like 2 for this year, for this, before school ends, and then probably 2 in the fall. That's what I'm specifically shooting at and trying to get and actually having 2 meetings, one for this area here specifically, probably in Callis, so we can do that, and then move the other one more towards Machias area, so that we wouldn't have to drive so far. I would, cause I'd be kind of spearheading that. I'll be getting a little bit more collaboration with Skip Greenlaw. He's, I believe, the region, I think it's Region 2.
2.
He's gonna get with me a little bit more, cause they wanna work with him to see if they can get the western part of Washington County to go over towards Ellsworth area. And that might be the second meeting, but I do wanna have one in this area to start out. I'm not sure what that theme will be yet. Like I said, it's all new to me, so bear with me as we go along. The other thing they're looking at also is, they were going over the board members' code of ethics. We have that, I think there's some specifics that they're looking at, making a few changes. Also, the other thing they're looking at for school board members and new ones, I think it will be grandfathered in, anybody that's in there, they wanna have like some type of training, for a lot of these school board members, and it's not like you have to attend an 8-hour class for 2 weeks or anything like that. They're trying to look and see what they have for training, and it's not gonna be a recommended, we would like for you, it would be, you must. If you're gonna be a school board member, this is what you must do.
I think the secret to that is to keep it as, be able to make it local, so that,
What's that?
make the training local.
Yeah, no, well,
So
they're gonna
they're not
try,
gonna
what they're gonna
travel
try
to
to do is
Augusta or
do
Bangor.
online training, if at
Yeah.
all
Oh,
possible.
good.
They're looking at that, so you can go, say, on your computer some evening, you can do the online training, and they get,
like the sports coach training
Yep.
and stuff
Correct,
like that.
yeah.
yeah, it's not gonna be, you have to attend Bangor for 8 hours.
Yeah.
It's not that, that's what they're trying to not go with. It was recommended by most of the board members that it should be, a mandatory trainings. Because there are a lot of schools that I got from the other regions in the area, or all the other regions, they actually sat there and said, yeah, we have a lot of school board members that just don't have a clue on what they're doing. They just do whatever they want, and they don't follow the code of ethics, they don't do a thing. I think with this training and stuff like that, it's not nothing that's gonna come through this year or next year. I think it's gonna be a year or two before we can actually implement it. But that's what they're looking towards for that there.
Yeah.
And then a couple of they went over some of the, bill lineups for this, coming session. Bill will probably see a lot more than that than I do. I'll probably start seeing as much as you are,
You will.
though. There wasn't really a lot on there that I could see, that's really hard pressed right now that they're looking at for bills that are being in. But if there is anything that comes up that I might see that would really affect us in any way, shape, or form, I will notify you guys by email. I'm sure Bill lets us know whenever anything pending is in the legislature too, so, but I'll be seeing that, not as much as Bill, but I'll be getting,
You'll see it.
I'll be getting the
You'll be
information
involved,
from them.
you'll be getting some input.
They'll be
Yeah, the
sending
That,
you.
yeah, and I think that's part of the reason why they're looking at, because I think the one thing that I got from this meeting was, they wanna do a lot more communication with the boards around the state. They want a lot, so that's why they're looking at more regional meetings. I mean, yeah, they did one regional meeting last year, and they put 2 and 3 together, and that was in Ellsworth. Now, who wants to go from Danforth to drive all the way to Ellsworth for a meeting?
It's not gonna happen.
It doesn't happen. It
No.
just, that's why the numbers fell down
It's
through.
not practical.
It's not. So that's why we're looking at least one, if not 2, before the school year's out. I'd like to get one in for sure before the school year's out and see how that goes, and then maybe do another one in the fall. Like have one maybe 2 a year, one in the fall, one in the spring.
And I like your idea of the other sides of.
Yeah,
Yes.
and having 2 meetings. I don't have a problem with traveling over to Machias for a meeting for over there, and then traveling like to Callis for a meeting for this group here.
That makes sense to me, it really does.
'Cause
I think
And that would
the
be.
Ellsworth that they had last year was a little out of line.
And I'm sure there'll be a little bit, there could be a possibility where, you know, if we're gonna be doing an a meeting in the evening, do like a meal.
Yeah, we have a lot more in common in this area too. I mean, when you start to have us go to Ellsworth,
It's a whole
No.
different.
we don't have a lot in common. When you have a Callis
No,
or.
Callis,
Yeah.
and that's what I mean, you're taking everybody from Danforth to
Yeah.
Eastport over as far as probably Pembroke.
Common
and
issues.
putting them
Yeah.
into this group here.
Yeah.
And then from Machias
Yeah.
to the Millbridge area,
And down
taking a
to
meeting there and have
Jonesboro.
it there. I know, Steve, Bailey, who is our director, has stated that if there is anything that we need from him, that he's willing to come down for any training whatsoever, if we have anything have any concerns whatsoever, he's willing to come down.
Yeah.
That is part of their whole plan, they're trying to, what it is, a lot more communication. And they've realized that over the last couple of years with new people coming in, that it's been a lot of lack of communications between that level of boards and our level where we're at right now. And we're trying to get away from that and actually have a lot more openness and a lot more info given to all the boards. And So that's where they want, really starting to push the regional meetings.
That's great.
It's good.
So that might be coming up, I'm not sure exactly when, I'll probably wait till my next meeting, which is February 29th, before I get a little more information, cause I need to talk to Skip about that first, cause he's actually been in charge of several of those regional meetings,
has.
but they've been on his end.
Right.
Um,
Skip's
but I don't
got
think they've
that.
been greatly attended, is kind of what I got, the gist of it from the other region.
It would be nice to have those, a meeting like that to discuss common issues, but also have legislators, local legislators.
Yeah, well, and that would be the thing coming in also, is maybe contact our legislators that represent us for this area, and maybe everybody comes in and have question answer type session for them also. I don't know yet, like I said, this is my very first meeting, and they left it up to me to contact, I gotta find the list here, I was showing. I know it's in here somewhere, I just had it earlier. I have a list of about 250 names in here, or whatever. That's the board system, Washington County, mine. So I have to try to contact every one of them
I
to try
only
to
have 93 board.
organize a meeting. So it's very interesting. I'm kind of excited. I don't know
That's great.
where it's gonna take me, but
It's nice to have representation, you
It
know,
is,
in this area.
It's,
Yeah.
I think it's important that, and I'm awful glad that you did this, Jamie, and I thank you
Yeah.
before and thank you
Absolutely.
again. That given our growth and the directions we're going and things that are happening here, that we have some direct representation at that level from this end of the world. So it's just, I think it's really important and I think it's very positive. And I appreciate your time, Jamie.
Yep, thank you, Jamie, very much.
as of right now, this is something that they gave me just before our meeting was over. These are some of the regular sessions, looks like documents that could be in there for approval. I'm not sure, there's one in here to include student absences for mental health. Cause that's, not a big thing, like somebody could be, I got very little on that. Another one is to act to protect teachers from professional teacher certificate endorsement changes. These are like, bills that are going through that are trying to get passed. I don't know if this is anything
The
that,
endorsement change issue was something that came up last year, year before, under certification, and they were trying to change the endorsements for high school staff and junior high staff and levels of teaching assignment. Right now, it's basically K-8, 9-12, and you can get a 7-12 certificate. And they were trying to break that down to some specific grade level areas. It makes it very, very difficult for an elementary school to operate if the certification is divided K-3 and 4-6.
Small schools especially.
And you've got a teacher that all of a sudden is teaching grade 3 one year, but you need him in grade 4, and they're not certified to make that change. So that has had a lot of discussions at my level and at principals' levels, and that's why that bill is there, is not to impact it that way. And I think our commissioner is supporting that. Pender is right down to earth.
with that 45-minute session that I had with her, I didn't ask no questions, cause I just listened to what everybody else had, and I took it all in. I'm getting, from what I understand, and you know how politics works, but I'm getting that she really, really seriously wants everything to be towards kids come first. That's where she's trying to lean more towards on a lot of her stuff that she's trying to get passed through. That is what we're looking at also. I'm not saying it's gonna be done in 1 year, I'm just saying that's what they're leaning more towards. And, what else was there, something that's stuck out? Trying to think.
She's tried to reduce the stresses that are being put on local districts by allowing the department to pick up some of the
Yeah.
issues that the legislature seems to want to send to us.
what was the other thing she had on there, and I'm trying to think that really stuck in, oh, I can't remember it, I probably could come up with it here. I'll get the minutes from our meeting.
Well, when she presented to the teachers in the fall, she talked about, she knew that the funding
That's it,
was,
that,
yes, she knew that was way, she knew there's a problem with it. She wasn't sure exactly how to fix it,
that
but
is,
she's working to try to come up with a way to
she
fix
is,
the funding.
and that's, and that's
that
what
was
they
one of her
focused
top
on a lot the
priority.
last 6 months was
Yeah,
this first 6 months of the school year. That is one thing that she knows that this formula they have
isn't working.
doesn't work for little schools
Doesn't work for small schools at all.
at all.
I gave
She
her-
knows it doesn't work at all for small schools.
And that's
She
the
is
first-
aware of that.
And that's the first time we've had anyone admit
Yeah.
that it doesn't work for small
Well, I
schools.
mean, when you
Usually
take a
they
look at it,
even
I didn't
talk
understand
about
it all until after our meeting was done with her. One of the things that Steve Bailey had explained to me was our commissioner before took business. He was never an education person,
Right, yeah.
so all his mindset was about business and business, business, business. So
Yeah.
the whole education side was way over his head.
Yep.
So,
And he wanted to run schools like a business.
Yeah.
They-
well, it's
I
not
mean, in a
necessarily the
way,
case.
you
You do
can't.
in a way, but you don't.
But you
I mean,
can't,
People, not
it's-
product.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
so that was it. That was, and
And
they're
the
working
bottom
really
line
hard
has
right
to
now
come
to find
close.
that formula that might work. And they might even try 2 different formulas. That might be something they're looking at down the road, is 2 different formulas. One for a small school, or for this many kids and this for down here, this would be set for your formula for your funding. And then for the larger schools, this funding. I don't know if, like I said, you guys probably hear about it as much as I do. That was the first I've ever heard of it, so.
I did a position paper for Pender back when she came into office, concerned about impacts of funding on small schools. When you look at the 279, and you know, I go through that, and soon you'll see it again, sometime in the next month, and I'll go back through it again and just take note. There's a requirement at K through 8 that you run a 1 to 18 teacher to student ratio. Well, I can tell you right now that in small schools, trying to run 1 to 18 teacher to student ratio, you can't do it. You can have a 1 to 14, 1 to 15, but the minute you do that, it's based on a percentage. So if you only have 1 to 15, then your 18 to 15 is your percentage, or 15, 18 is your percentage that you're gonna get reimbursed for. You're not gonna get 100% of that salary figured into the funding formula. You're only gonna get 15, 18ths of it. And when you look at a small school that might have some classes, and I'll pick on East Range, where you have a class size of 8 or 9, well, that's a 50% funding loss on every one of those staff members. So when it was designed, in all reality, it was designed to close small schools.
Right.
Because towns would not be able to afford the 50% or half of the total cost of the operation of the building and the programs. So when Dr. Silverdale, who designed that, actually designed it, it was designed at a point in time when we moved from SADs to RSUs, to regionalization. RSU was a regional school unit,
Yep.
designed in a regional format. And then there was a move beyond that for more regionalization over the last 10 years, last decade. And part of that was designed in place under the formula that was now EPS, Essential Programs and Services. But that's the history. In a nutshell.
And the other thing that was, they're trying to get a bill passed through, and it was kinda like a, do we favor it or do we don't favor it? They wanna get electric buses for us now. They want by this date to have all schools to have an electric bus.
That's nationwide.
That's nationwide.
Well, in Maine, they wanted, I think, a little sooner than the nationwide part, but
That's
the
a good one.
problem we have with this area, and 3/4 of the board was against it, was the fact that everybody, 3/4 of our board members are rural areas.
Yeah.
you don't have those stations to be able to charge a battery up. You have most schools, you know, if you're traveling for a basketball game to Fort Kent, there's no way a bus is gonna make it all the way to Fort Kent. Be able to charge that up over a 3-hour period and be able to drive all the way back on an electric bus. It's just not logical. So I don't understand why they're really pushing that. I can understand the local use having a bus for local.
Portland, Bangor, something like
Yeah.
that, you know,
Yeah.
right, but.
But that would be
Not
difficult for
rural.
the rural areas, so we had actually, as a board, voted against
And I
Thought
think
behind
if
it
I
is
read.
adopting
Good,
that
yes.
as, you know, yeah. But that, they have, it's not us that adopts it or puts it in, it's the legislature that actually does, but we endorse it or don't endorse it. That was one of the ones we didn't
Yeah.
endorse, so. I just thought it was, that kinda threw me off when I'm going down through, it's like electric buses.
I think the
I was
range
thinking
on
in
the
my head
bus
that-
was only 140 miles too, if I remember reading.
Couldn't
right.
even get a bus run in.
Yeah.
I couldn't make some of my runs.
Well, that's just it. It's funny how they sat there and said that, you know, and I'm thinking to myself, they
How much
just
would
never
those
been
cost?
down, whoever
They
thought this
actually
up
wanted to,
must be in a big city like Portland or something, because
Pay 'em the
it just
majority
wouldn't work in
cost by the
Baileyville.
state, so there'd be very little
Here,
cost.
I sit legislator for medicine, and this sounds
That
deja
brings
vu.
up a point too I wanted to make about my report. Back, I don't know when now, it seems like forever ago, I
Year
can't
ago.
remember when when it was due. I did a application through the VW
Yeah.
process. I got a call last week, I think it was, yeah, it was last week, to make sure that I was gonna be reimbursed the full amount for the gas that I would have used in that bus that we don't use very often. That it is under the replacement process for VW, so the 15th of this month, the list is supposed to come out for the VW replacement. And the bus that I think I priced out was 96 or 98,000. Our cost would be about 14. So if I'm still crossing my fingers that call asking for that question was a positive indication that we will be on the approval list for a bus that will help our fleet for the next probably 3 to 4 years. Stay ahead of it. So that was good news. And the last thing I wanted to mention too, if you caught Facebook today, you noticed that our guidance department has been very active with scholarships. And we were awarded 5, especially the W, scholarships for a program that I said
Travels up out of country for a month, right, or something like that?
And no,
Summer?
these
Summer,
are,
summer.
there's 2 parts. This one is 5 student. They're $2,000 per semester per student. There are 5 of them. So basically, it's $4,000 a year
Yep.
for 4 years.
As long as they attend a 4-year college, get a
Well, they
4-year
attend a
college.
4-year. If they go to a 2-year college, they get it for the first 2. If they
Yep.
move on to a 4-year from that, it continues.
Yep.
So basically, it's $16,000 times 5 or $80,000 worth of scholarships availability that our guys. And then on top of that, there's a second scholarship group that we got that's going to allow for a 5 or 6 week summer course for a 7th grader? Freshman, 9th grader, to attend either community college, or I can't remember the name of the other alternate college that was there. You're looking at Facebook. So
I'm
you can
trying to find
yeah,
it.
It's on there. So if you get a chance, check that. I want to say.
That one's Phillips Academy in Andover, Mass, and at WCCC, all expenses and transportation.
So that's pretty nice for our particular school and for our students in this school.
Right.
The more that we can do to allow students to go on to post-secondary institutions, whether it's college or vocational colleges, the more power we have. So, I
Well
forgot that.
That's good.
Okay, so moving on to approval of Shelby Seeley.
I'd like to recommend Shelby Seeley as a food service employee. Cook.
Make a motion, we approve Shelby Seeley as the Woodland Elementary school food service employee.
Second?
Move to second, any further discussion? All in favor? Thank you. And, do you wanna set the date for the next meeting before we go into executive session?
Yeah, the next meeting will be, 7 and 14 is 21.
Can I say something before you go in? I
Mm.
should have said it during public comment and I forgot.
Sure.
This Saturday, here at the high school, we're hosting the DAC's All-Star Cheerleading Championship at 6 o'clock,
Right.
so I just wanted to put that out there,
I
so
knew that because I'm emceeing it.
people could come on out and, support your cheerleaders, cause they support your athletes, your other athletes. They themselves are hardworking athletes,
My
so,
guess
Is
is
there a
Come
game
support
away?
have
Be fun to bring the little cheerleaders.
yes, it would.
Yeah.
Is there a game
Yeah, we should.
this
5
weekend
o'clock.
up north?
5 o'clock, we'll have an athletic.
Is it one Saturday?
21st.
Doors open at 4 for
Hall of
that,
Fame.
up to
Hall of Fame.
6.
Yeah, I know. I
5 o'clock.
Um,
Tom,
21st, 5 o'clock.
5
Hall
o'clock,
of Fame.
21st for Hall of Fame.
I have
Alright.
That's all you can do?
5:30 is the meeting,
I
right?
have a
Yeah.
doctor's appointment in Bangor that day, and then I'm meeting, forced me to do my paperwork at 12:30. So I should be
Okay.
here, if I'm not here right at 5, I should be here in time for that.
We need to let Bobby Ferry know, right?
Yeah.
Cause I'm meeting with
No, they can't get
Judge
down.
Franco at 12:30.
It's stuff
That shouldn't take. How long did it take me to do that retirement paperwork?
Not very long.
What is cranking up and down
I did mine
Not that I'm
electronically.
excited.
at the elementary school? That's
They
been
just
that
have
way. I
consultation,
can't
they have
believe
to
that.
do it, and they're gonna
I've got the
advertise it.
I've got all that.
Alright, then
Yeah,
you just
so I
have
just,
to.
why
You were there when I was a kid. That's the same exact
I've already
system
made
as
the
I was a
decision
kid.
on the choice.
Then you just fill out the paperwork, and they go along.
Okay. No, that's the hardest thing, because I have 8 different choices in mine, and once you make it,
You're
you
stuck
can
with it.
never change it again for your whole, I mean, whatever it is. Yes, and it's like a.
See ya, guys.
See you, thanks Craig.
Okay, at 90-10, 80-20, 85.
Shut the
50.
camera off.
Anytime you wanna drop
Don't
by.
wanna be executive session
So I'm
live.
doing
Oops,
the
that
one
wouldn't be
that's like.
very
Jamie,
good.
is Skip Queen off from Stonington?
33%,
Yes,
but
yes,
it's
he,
not
yep, that's just who it is, yep.
back to the original.
Yep, he's